to talk about connections. Does anybody know why it's important to make connections? Tori?
Yeah, we make connections so that we can, like, relate to things and understand the book better.
Very good. Does anybody know what kind of connections that we have? Sam?
We can make connections to our own lives.
Very good. That is called text-to-self connections. Does anybody have another one? Do you have one, Tori?
Yeah, my one was that we make connections from, like, one book to a different book.
Very good. That's called text-to-text connections. There's also one more. Does anybody know what that's called?
I don't think
No.
so.
Well, it's called text to world. It's like making connections like within society or within the world together. So today we are going to read the book Chrysanthemum, and she is a very young girl, and she probably relates a lot to your guys' lives, or like maybe something else that you've read. So while I read, if you have a connection, raise your hand, and we will write it down on the chart that we have behind us so we can make the connections in the book, and we'll kind of discuss them as we go along. Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right, so Chrysanthemum by Kevin Hinckus. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Tori, do you have a connection?
Yeah, my mom says that I'm perfect.
Does she now?
Mm-hmm.
I bet she does. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. When she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. She loved the way it sounded when she whispered to herself in the bathroom mirror. Does anybody whisper to themselves in the bathroom mirror?
No. But my mom wakes me up.
Your mom wakes you up?
Mm-hmm.
Does your mom wake you up, Sam?
Yeah.
She does?
She does.
Chrysanthemum, Chrysanthemum, Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. Has anybody had icing on their birthday cake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it say your name on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's write that down. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with a fat orange crayon. Is anybody's favorite color orange?
Yeah, it's my favorite color.
It's your favorite color?
Mm-hmm.
What things are orange that you like?
Orange popsicles.
Popsicles.
Those are good.
You ready for summer?
Yes.
Yeah. Chrysanthemum, Chrysanthemum, Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect, and then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile.
Oh, I have a connection.
Yes?
I think that lots of boys and girls wear dresses and stuff on the first day of school, and that's kind of like something that the world does.
Very good. So what kind of connection is that called?
A text to world.
Very good, Tori. So let's write that down up here. She ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum. School! But when Mrs. Chud took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name.
I have a connection too.
Yes, you do?
When she ran all the way to school, on my first day of school, I ran all the way because I was so excited and I
Really?
lived really close.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exciting. Do you
So
still run to
cool.
school every day?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Because you want to see me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll write that up here. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful.
I have a connection.
Mm-hmm.
One time I thought my lunchbox was like really cool, and then I came to school and someone didn't like it, and I didn't like it anymore.
Do you still have that lunchbox?
Yeah,
Do you still use that lunchbox?
yeah. My mom won't get me a new one.
Well, I guarantee someone in here likes your lunchbox. What color is your
like
lunchbox? Is your lunchbox orange?
Yeah.
See? Doesn't matter what other people think as long as you like it. Smile. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. Does anybody know a word that has 13 letters in it? No, off the top of your head.
Maybe supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Maybe. We'll have to count that one out later.
Yeah.
That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Does anybody wish they can change their name? You like your names?
That's
like
really
my
mean.
name.
Yeah, it is really mean. Do you think they should be acting like this in school?
Mm-mm.
No. I don't think they should either. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag, and I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful, and precious, and priceless, and fascinating, and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup.
That's my favorite dinner.
That's your favorite dinner?
Mhm.
What kind of connection is that?
A text to self.
Very good. Let's write that up here. And an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. Does anybody have good dreams?
Mm-hmm.
I have good dreams. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Is that very nice?
Mm-mm.
No. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, a chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. I just can't believe your name, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. Do your parents greet you when you come home from school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mother. They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours, said her mother. After all, it's absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting. Do you guys like buttercream frosting?
Yeah.
And another evening filled with hugs and kisses and pair cheese. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and the petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger, and Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy.
I have a connection.
Yes.
In my school play that we did here, I was a flower.
You were
I
a
was
flower?
a rose.
Like Chrysanthemum was?
Mhm.
Except you were a rose and she was a daisy?
Mhm.
Did you have fun playing the rose?
I did. It was super
Yeah.
fun.
Chrysanthemum's daisy. Chrysanthemum's a daisy. Jo, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Mrs. Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Jo. It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "She's named after a flower." "My name is long," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It is?" said Jo. "My name would scarcely fit on a name tag," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It would?" said Rita, pointing. "And," said Mrs. Twinkle, "I'm named after a flower, too." "You are?" said Victoria. "Yes," said Mrs. Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect." Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. "Call me Marigold," said Jo. "I'm Carnation," said Rita, pointing. "My name is Lily of the Valley," said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. And the epilogue says, "Overall, the class musical was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made the only mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and she giggled throughout the entire dance of the flowers. Eventually, Mrs. Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named it Chrysanthemum. So, why are connections in the story important to make? Yes?
Well, they're important because they happen in like our lives too, and then we can learn from them.
Very good. Now, what I want you to do next, I want you to go back to your seats and talk to partners about like things that happen in your life and like what connections you can make with each other from them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, off you go.
Okay.